Here we go. It is podcast time. Glenn Powers here from PowerWorks Automotive. We're at the Rove Hotel downtown in the podcast suite. We're going to talk cars, and we're going to talk oil. We're going to talk engines. Did we even talk about the smelly Pajero last time we podcast? I don't think we did.
Maybe at the end of it.
Yeah.
I probably mentioned it a little bit. Yeah.
Because we're going to talk about that again. Then let's make sure we sorted that if we didn't.
Pajeros. Coming soon.
Coming soon, yeah, or going soon. We're also going to talk about the Mega Cruiser.
I know, where's that
the
being on?
Toyota Mega Cruiser. I know.
Why did I not know about that?
I don't.
Why are there not 100 out there?
And anything that has a 20-seater coaster engine in it is got to be good. So, yeah, we got a lot to talk about. It's PowerWorks time. Glenn's here. So am I. Here we go. Let's kick off with that, actually. And this is kind of a weird thing because you sent me the link of this guy who is a Toyota Land Cruiser aficionado.
Yeah.
And on a side note, look, we've just started. We've just played out the theme music, and I'm already putting in a side note. Imtishan Ghiado, Motoring Middle East, is how you can find out about him. He actually owns now a Toyota Land Cruiser.
Yes.
And I see on Instagram the other day.
He's calling it Ugly LC, that's right.
Yeah, Ugly LC. And 2 days ago, I'm looking on Instagram, and it's going onto a tow truck.
Usually being driven around by a Mitsubishi tow truck. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's the Mitsubishi Land Cruiser at the minute.
So I thought, that Land Cruiser. But, he's always wanted one, and he had to rebuild it, and he's done some great stuff. But it's not right. So you love a Land Cruiser, There's a YouTube link that we'll post into the body of this podcast and video cast because you might be watching us on YouTube, and if you are, hello. Welcome to the program.
I'll have my haircut next time.
Yeah. This aficionado of Land Cruisers shows his, and then he's in the Land Cruiser Museum, where there is just Land Cruiser upon Land Cruiser upon Land Cruiser and versions of Land Cruisers. And then he happens on to the Mega Cruiser, it's called.
Yeah.
And I'd never heard of this until you sent me this thing. And sometimes you get YouTube links and you kind of you start watching. No, this one had me watching the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to know more. And what a machine.
I know. I mean,
why would you buy a Hummer when you can get the Mega Cruiser?
Well, exactly. Clearly going to be more reliable. The thing is, right, so this is the whole Facebook, YouTube algorithm strikes again. But I got a Facebook suggested video. You know when you click on a video and the one underneath it is just a video that it thinks you might want to watch. Usually it's somebody shooting something or a dog running after somebody or something stupid. But this was just the thumbnail was, on first thought, it's a H1 Hummer.
Yeah, and it kind of looks like a Hummer, a little bit higher.
Yeah, and then I'm like, Toyota? Yeah. Never heard of it. And then I looked at it, and it was a Mega Cruiser, which was produced and sold in Japan. And I'm thinking, right, hang on, why are there not loads here? Yeah. To me, that car just says UAE all over it.
Yeah. Like I've never seen one.
I don't get it. Like, why are there not every other car here? The amount of cars that come in from Japan. Yeah. But then again, nobody's selling it, are they? Nobody wants to sell that.
No.
It's just everything. Like, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't drive it. I wouldn't own it.
Come on.
It'd be cool to see and it'd be cool to drive. It's not my cup of tea, but I just looked at it and thought, I probably see on the road 1 or 2 H1s every week. Yeah. There's not that many here, but there are enough that you notice them.
This looks like an H1. But the things
better than a H1.
The things that were cool about it was, first of all, it's not fast because it literally has a Toyota coaster bus engine in it.
Yeah.
So this little 4-banger, and you know what, you get what you get.
Yeah.
But what I love, there were little things about it. So it doesn't have solid suspension, so it's kind of like a Hummer. It's got it's nice. And the brake system, instead of having the brakes, and he goes into looking at before we get to the brakes, he goes into looking at how the tires are put on and what's going on, and there's all sorts of nice little technology there. The braking isn't on the wheels. The braking is old school up by the chassis.
Yeah.
So it's out of the way of rocks. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's pros and cons to that.
Yeah.
It's good for protect, and like when you read up about it, it was used and adopted mainly by security and police forces in Japan for different areas. But I just think to myself, why aren't there any here? I've never seen one. There probably is one or two. Maybe,
Yeah. Someone's got one. I don't even think the Rainbow Shake. So if you're ever out in the UAE, there's a sheikh. They call him the Rainbow Shake, who's got a car museum. As you're heading over towards Abu Dhabi, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful place. But I don't even think I've seen one in there.
I follow him on Instagram. Actually, I can't. Is it Sheikh? I can't remember his name.
I know.
Instagram. I'm gonna try and find it.
If you go Rainbow Shake, he comes up with that too.
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
But I don't think he's got one in there, or if he did, I didn't recognize. At the point, I didn't put two and two together. So
no.
And Sharjah's got the
Sheikh Hamdan bin Hamdan.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
And Sharjah's got a car museum here. I don't think I've ever seen one in there either. No. So it's kind of an interesting piece. The other thing that was really cool about it, so the guy who's driving is saying, when you get in, there's so much of the contemporary Land Cruiser with the gear shifter and all that. It's all a Land Cruiser, just a lot bigger.
Bigger and boxier.
But the rear wheels also pivot when you're turning. So he said it's really weird going around a corner because the whole thing just kind of drifts around a corner. And it's really tight when you're going around a corner then as well. So
there's obviously, I mean, look, it was created in production run was 95 to 2000 or 2000. I'm trying to find it here. 2001. So they only produced it for 6 years, and there was only 3,000 reported to be produced.
Yeah.
So there aren't that many of them, and they're probably, I would guess, going to be worth a few quid now, based on the rarity. Don't know how many of that 3,000 are still around.
I wonder.
I mean, you like to think that, because Japan are really sensible with their regulations for cars.
Yeah.
So after a certain age, stop polluting the roads with them, get something new, and that's why a lot of them get exported, because it's just a shame to scrap them.
It is the Japanese mentality, because it's not just cars, it's houses. So everywhere else in the world, you buy a house, and that house appreciates, and you get equity in it. Not in Japan. Your house loses equity till the time you die. Your house is worth nothing. And they tear them down and build a new one, and then you've got equity again, and then it just amortizes until it's worth nothing.
It kind of works, right?
Well, and so their car industry works the same. Get rid of these things, and let's get some new ones in. By the time you export that car, it's worth nothing in Japan.
Which is good for places like here,
Beautiful.
where we import a load of the old, the cars that are a few years old and they can't be used anymore. Yeah. So, but I hate to think they all got recycled.
Yeah, there's someone's got them.
But maybe they're still used on military bases. I mean, 3,000 isn't a lot if you think about the size of the country and the islands of Japan. Like, if they've got 100 on a military base somewhere, and then that's the case 5 or 6 times over. You never know. Yeah. They might have Japanese military outposts that are in other nations.
Yeah, we got to do some research. I got a buddy who lives there in Japan. Maybe we just send Gar Reynolds, the public speaking guru. Maybe just send something over to Gar Reynolds and say, Gar Reynolds, you ever seen one of these things? He's like a nice guy. Hey, this is an interesting one. It's got nothing to do with what we're talking about. But before we get to the nothing, let's just finish off with this mega cruiser. You know what the proof in the pudding in that YouTube video was? Because there's a lot of parts where the guy's just driving it. Proof in the pudding that is just a fantastic vehicle was where he couldn't wipe the smile off his face.
Yeah.
And it's shaking, so you know that it's not a comfort ride. Like the whole camera's got some vibration going down, and you know that the camera's stabilized, so it's shaking. But he can't wipe the smile off his face. Like he's just smiling.
It's sort of like it does just look like a 10-year-old has been given all the parts to build a car.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Based on a drawing they've made.
Yeah, that's it. It's just a little dream come true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. For a Toyota, at least.
Yeah, go check out the Mega Cruiser. I think we all want one. At least to drive one. You want to take it for a little spin.
I'd like to see one and see what it's all about, but I mean the 4.1 litre engine doesn't excite me, and the 4-speed automatic on it as well. But you'll get through and over anything, I guess.
Yeah, it's like my brother's got a 1950 Fargo. You're winning no land speed records with that thing, but the torque when you put it into low, you climb anything. You could get out and it'll just climb on its own.
When the apocalypse comes,
yeah, he's going to win.
That's the car to get.
It's it. He's ready for it.
Yeah.
All power's gone. That thing will start.
No problem.
Yeah, it requires you need general mechanical knowledge to fix it. But there's basically, you open it up and it's the cavernous area where the engine is. It's an inline 4.
As long as you've got an adjustable spanner, you're pretty cool to go.
And you can pretty much sleep in there with the engine. And there's room.
Use the heat from the engine.
Yeah. It's like, that's it. The oil leak, it's okay. Put more oil in. That's it. Yeah. But anyway, smile on the Mega Cruiser. This has got nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it just dawned on me, and it's just like a random thought. So why am I putting a random thought in when we got a perfectly good list of things to talk about? But you ever use Evernote? No. You know what Evernote is, right? No. It's an app. It's a note-keeping app, and it's fairly popular. I mean, not to you, but
I don't keep notes.
Yeah, here we go. People have used it in the past. Well, one of the co-founders of that company has spun off, and he's doing a lot of other things. And they decided, in the land after this COVID experiment that we've had, and how are we going to teach, how are we going to do work, and this is how this connects in. Because pre to turning on the tape, we were talking about COVID and teaching and work and how it's changed the way things happen. So these guys at Evernote, well, the guy who was at Evernote, co-founder, and has moved on to other ventures as well, has decided in his latest set of adventures that they're not going back to the office. In fact, they're getting rid of the office forever.
Okay.
But by doing that, he's also said, well, since we're not going to be using the office, that means you at home are probably going to need other stuff. So what we're going to do is we're closing the office, and we're going to give everyone an additional $800 a month, because you're no longer coming to the office, but you're going to have more expenses.
Yeah.
So here you go.
Upgrade your Wi-Fi, internet speeds, buy a better printer.
There you go. And
that's cool.
And you're going to be at home, so you're going to be eating more. You're going to be using more of your stuff at home. Your electricity bill is going to be higher.
You're going to be eating more. Here's some money for gym membership.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. You're going to need a personal trainer.
Thought about that.
And I just thought, wow, okay, this is what a way to think. It's instead of saying, wow, we're going to close the office and we're going to do well, and you're at home, so you're going to have less expenses. It's like, yeah, we're closing the office and we're going to bump you guys all up a bit because you're going to have different expenses, which is still cheaper than us having the expenses. But
yeah, like cost of owning an office space.
Yeah.
A lot of people renting office spaces as well. Yeah. Bad news for landlords.
Oh man, horrible for landlords. I mean, it's time to reimagine. How do I use my space? What am I going to use it for? And it's
really weird, because you remember when pre-COVID, we thought car sharing was the way to go.
Yeah.
And whether that was a group of people that own a vehicle, or whether it was the whole sort of U-Drive system that they have here, and the e-car system that they have here, where there's just an app and you find a car that's close by and you get a PIN number and you start it and away you go. We thought COVID killed that. But I think everything coming out of COVID is everything. So now all about, whether it's just purely the desire to share things again, because we haven't been able to for so long, or whether it was going that way and we're just carrying on, but it's a little bit accelerated because of everything went that way. But everything, like office space now, we've both been to Andrew's office at Nexa.
I haven't been back in a while.
That's a huge office space. Yeah. If they were to work from home, what do they do? What does the people that own that office space do with it?
Well, they do have a podcast studio going in there.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying, Andrew, that's DigiGeekster, also Tech Talk. He does say, you got to come by and check it out. And
got a huge green screen.
And so I do need to do this, but the sad thing is I kind of look at we're here at the Rove, and I kind of look at where are we, how much traffic do I have to endure to get there, where am I going to park, and I keep coming back to the Rove.
Yeah,
because it's okay, we don't have a green screen, but we do have a great room.
We'll have to make it happen.
Yeah, we got to do it. We got to go check it out and make it happen.
Yeah, but no, I think it's strange.
Yeah.
Like I didn't see any of the U-Drive or the e-car stuff on the road, and
I thought it was gone.
All of a sudden, we're seeing them again, and obviously, you can't get a hire car for love nor money. We spoke about that the other week because everybody's here for Expo and what have you.
Man.
So people are still happy sharing cars effectively. So it is interesting to what it will mean for that. I mean, that Evernote idea is great, but then they've made savings in office space that they're redistributing amongst the staff, which is great. They're probably not necessarily doing it one-to-one. They might make a bit on it, but that's cool.
I'm sure they're saving somewhere.
Better than nothing. But then again, there are companies that will provide company cars that might not need to provide that anymore. They're not necessarily always sales reps that have a company car. It's someone that drives to an office, sits in an office, closes the door, and then goes back home at the end of the day in their company car. So in the UK, company cars are down as a benefit in kind on the tax return.
Okay,
so you earn you pay more tax basically
Okay.
because of the value of that on top of it. It adds a value onto your salary.
Right.
So you end up paying more tax with it. But, you know, for people in an office that don't need that car, it's for them, would it be better to say, oh, you know what, why am I paying more tax for a car that I'm not using? It's nice to have it on the drive, keeping up with the Joneses and all that stuff, but forget the Joneses. They've moved out, they fell out during lockdown or whatever, they've divorced. You know, it's just not a big deal. You know, I don't know what the figures are, and there's something maybe we could look into, but the company car and fleet market for cars, I think it's probably struggling. The place I worked at in the UK is now no longer a VW retailer. It is a group headquarters for training and pre-delivery inspection for all brands. There's 12 lifts in it, 12 lifted work bays in it. I get pictures and videos from there quite often. And we've mentioned before in the UK, new number of plate registrations is March and September. So February, March and August, September are just rammed.
Wow.
Not this year.
It's empty.
Yeah, and they used to run fleet out of there as well, so there's no fleet either. So
Interesting.
that is just a snapshot. Maybe the rest of the country isn't the same.
Right.
But we're in a that was in a very, very good location, right central in the country, great motorway access north and south. It was one of the busier fleet units in the country from what I remember, and that's just not the case anymore. And I wonder why that is, because they don't just do. It's not like it's everyone's turned away from VW, because it's not just VW.
It's just, I think my assessment would be it's a knock-on effect. A, we have car shortages. B, we've got different car usage, and while there is that enticement to get back into the office and things, people haven't all bitten into that, and because of the shortage and because of the price jumping, people are just, like you say, they're holding on to the old things they've been driving, or they've found alternatives. Maybe they are buying into public transport or car sharing, where you've got carpooling. And I think it's just forced people to think differently, and I think in some cases people have got used to having a little bit more, especially if your job was sustained through the 18 months or 2 years of lockdown. If your job was sustained, if you were still making the same salary, and now suddenly you started spending less, and you got used to having a little bit more in your pocket, and now you realize, I got to go back, and petrol prices have gone up, and parking, and
in the UK, like if you stop driving to work,
you're saving big time.
You're saving maybe 60, 70 pounds a week.
Yeah.
That's a big chunk of cash just on fuel.
And then if you have parking, and you got to pay for, you got to buy a parking pass, and that's another 100 pounds a month.
Because salaries haven't necessarily recovered yet either.
They haven't.
So, to then find that again.
Yeah.
And then, like you say, parking is one that people don't realise.
Oh, it's brutal.
It's very, very easy to forget the parking cost, but in the UK you can pay, you buy a permit if you work in an office, but still it's parking, but it's still money.
Yeah.
You still, by the time you add that to your fuel, you might be talking 70, 80, 90 pounds a month, a week, sorry. That's a lot.
That's a ton. And so people got used to that. Now it's like, okay, I got to find alternatives.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of fun. Have you been to Expo yet?
No, not yet. We're going to. So we were waiting till the weather cooled down sufficiently.
Smart man. I've been there 3 times last week. It was hot.
Yeah.
So over a 2-week period, I've been 3 times.
Yeah, we've got to do the daytime because the kids are still at bedtime at 7 o'clock.
It's beautiful to go at night, but with kids, I've been at multiple times of the day. You want to go to the most friendly hour. Be there at 10 when it opens.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
And it's crowd friendly at 10, and it's cooler at 10, and then you do a few hours, and then you get out of there.
Yeah, so we're going to get the season pass, and
okay.
then we're going to go around and probably do
45 dirhams a day in November for a 1-day pass. It's only 45 dirhams.
Yeah, we're going to do sort of 4 or 5 weekly visits on Fridays, and then Amy's parents are scheduled in at the start of next year, so they not only do they get the free ticket with the Emirates flight, they also qualify for senior citizen.
There you go.
So the girls are free.
There you go.
I think our season passes are only 500 dirhams each.
So it's even cheaper now. It's even cheaper now.
If you go,
it's been knocked right down.
If you go five 6 times. I mean, that's great value.
I think you can. It's a couple hundred dirhams now. It's gone.
Honestly, what you're thinking though? How many visits do you think it's going to take to get around all the places?
You know, I at least half a dozen.
Yeah.
And that's only just to get a taste of some of the things.
Not necessarily interacting with everything.
Yeah, and then if you want to try some of the dining options and some of those things, some of them require reservations.
What do you mean if? What else are we going for?
Well, that's it. I mean, I ended up the other day. So I was there at 10 o'clock and we're walking around and, we went to a few pavilions and we saw stuff. And then a couple of the pavilions, it was, it's a trade show at the end of the day. So I was kind of like, really? Okay. Oh. We'll talk about a couple of pavilions in a second. But I ended up, because you want to go to where the food is. Ultimately, you got to try some of the food that's there. Yeah. So I ended up at this bakery called Bread Ahead, Ahead, custard-filled donuts.
Oh, yes.
And they're
Let me make a note of this.
Yeah, Bread Ahead. Mobility. If you're at the Russia Pavilion, take a right, just a little bit back. Look for Croatia and the Holy See. If you're close to the Holy See in Croatia, you're at Bread Ahead.
Bread Ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
So not only is it a custard-filled donut, and they don't skimp on the custard, like they really, and there's about 6 different choices of custard filling, different flavors. The entire donut itself is covered in granular sugar. So not powdered sugar, it's like, so you wear the whole thing, but we're talking it is a diabetic nightmare, right? Like insulin fires through it, but it's just so good.
That's what you want.
Yeah, I mean, they're not cheap, but when you finish eating that thing and you wipe all the sugar off you and you're kind of sitting there and you're kind of going, okay, was that worth it? It's like, yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
That's worth it. I'll just jog to the next pavilion and make it.
That's it. And it was, we're standing there and then, you're looking out because you can eat outdoors and it's cooled down now, which is nice. There's a carousel there, a double-decker Venetian carousel.
Nice.
I went, okay, well, this is like exactly where I want to be.
Yeah. No, we're going to make an effort to get over there. Yeah. Is much automotive stuff there?
Surprisingly, there is. It's scattered throughout things, and this is the weird. So we went to the China Pavilion, and this is one we were scheduled into. We went took a look around. China Pavilion was weird. I mean, it was really cool because China's got this rich history, as we all know. They were not really concerned with talking about the history, but talking about China tomorrow and China today and the technology stuff. And some of the pavilions I was at did a really nice job of giving you this. So like Pakistan, for instance, really does a nice job of transitioning from the rich history of Pakistan to the rich technology today and what they're doing and the linkage there. And whereas China didn't want to do that really. It's like, you know what? Yeah, this is our history. This is where we're going. And it was pretty neat. And so that was one of the places we're in there. There's a car. And of course, electric car. And they're showing this thing off. And it was like, wow, okay, that's really cool. But also with the robot pandas in the same place. It's like electric car, robot panda. All right, I get it. But so that was kind of neat. So yeah, there's a lot of mobility things. E-Motorrad in the Indian pavilion, not showing cars, but showing e-bikes. Okay. And they've got a whole standard set of them, which you can actually rent here over in Business Bay. And they're super affordable and they're super cool. But the surprising one for me was I ended up in Croatia. And so I mentioned that because it's close to Bread Ahead. And the Holy See, which I thought was kind of the Pope's outfit, and I thought that was kind of weird. It was kind of neat because you're in there and it's like looking around. It's like, and they actually have some actual documents from 1207 till 12 whatever that are highlighting the interaction with the Holy See and the Arab world and so I'm looking at this book 1207. So printing presses until 1455. So this book is handwritten, and I'm looking at it going, how did they do that? And so I'm squinching down. I can see where they've drawn in guidelines, but it's hand drawn. The numbers look like they're from a machine, and I'm just thinking, poor sucker who had to write that because if they made one mistake or they got tired or it was cold.
Yeah, but you do realise that was the scribe's. That's all they wanted to do.
Yeah, that was the scribe's job.
Yeah, that's what they wanted though.
Yeah, and it was beautiful. So that was kind of neat. So we get into Croatia and we get a nice tour of Croatia. And the final thing you're looking at is this electric car they've got there. 0 to 100 in, 1.8 seconds.
Is that the Rimac?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Rimac, yeah.
And I'm looking at it going, that's a pretty sweet looking car.
Yeah.
I mean, because I've now seen a lot of electric cars. I'm looking at this thing. I'm just going,
They're the guys that are saying they can get sub 1 second to 60 in the next vehicle.
Yeah, I'm sure they can. And
Yeah,
this
Richard
thing,
Hammond crashed one at the hill climb, set fire to it and destroyed it.
oh man, so they got one sitting there, and it was just, yeah, it's nice. It's really nice looking.
Yeah, they're doing some mental stuff.
1.6 seconds to 100, like that's gonna wham you back into the seat.
Like that's without sounding like a Luddite that was fearful of the steam train in the UK in the 1800s. This thing is like, can we do that?
Yeah.
You know, you don't even get. Okay, the G-force is kind of there when you're lifting off in a rocket, but it's different. It ain't as fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Initially, at least. So, like, ouch.
Yeah, you gotta have a neck brace on, and so I'm looking at that, and then at that moment I get some alert that the new Corvette that's going to be in Europe, and it's going to be only going to get to whatever 100 or 80 kilometers or something in 3 seconds. I'm going, oh, that's really slow, and I'm going, what? Anyway, I'm shaking my head and go, what are you nuts?
This is what you have to forget, right? You have to remember. You have to remember that there are Ferraris. We're only talking 30 years ago that were 7-8 seconds to 60 miles an hour.
Yeah. And and then I'm thinking, okay, that's really good. Who's ever gonna do that? Like, off which set of lights are you just gonna pedal it so that you're flying only to take your foot off the gas because that's all you can do?
Yeah. Everybody. Everybody's doing that. And everyone is just constantly doing the 0 to 60.
Well,
62 now.
you see that actually at every light. Anyone who's in these little, the guy's got a Ferrari, guy's got a Lamborghini. That's all they do. It's like,
yeah. Hey, me and okay, no. Scratch that. Maybe I heard that there's a nice fun game to play at traffic lights now. I've heard.
Okay, go for it.
So when you're sat in traffic lights and you look across and there's somebody, you people watch, right?
Yeah.
Traffic lights 3-4 minutes sometimes, especially a big intersection, and somebody's on their mobile phone. If you've been waiting for a couple of minutes and they're still on their mobile phone and you accidentally slip and catch the horn, that person may panic, thinking, oh, we must be moving, they've not been paying attention and we're all automatics here, and just steps on the pedal to go forward and then has to slam on the brakes before they hit the car in front.
Oh no.
I've heard that sometimes happens.
No.
So I don't recommend anyone does it, but stop being on your phones at traffic lights. People.
Yeah.
Stop being on your phones in cars. Guy this morning, 2 kids in the back, Pajero. It's the Pajero's fault actually. He'd probably not done it if he'd been in a Touareg. So he was in a Pajero, no seatbelts on the kids. They look small enough to actually, they should have been in seats, car seats. No seatbelts on, and he's on his phone.
Yeah, forget it. Get off the phone.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Yeah. And part of the challenge is we've got some cars where people are using their maps and things, which encourages distraction. I mean, but don't get the phones out of the cars. I mean, I
remember Nissan did that thing recently where there was a meshed cubby in the center console in the armrest that you could put your device in and would stop it receiving any signal.
What a great idea.
Why can't the whole car be geofenced like that?
They need to. I mean, it's. We've tried fines. We've tried, and none of it is working. People are causing accidents. And you see them on the road because you see some guys or some lady. They're veering towards you, and then I get close and I look in on the phone.
Could have guessed. That's what I say when they go past them. I say, could have guessed.
Yeah. So it's come on. Like, really. Just stop.
Yeah, there's got to be some. Well, there is. There's definitely technology to do that. But the problem you've got is there will be too many people saying it's against my human rights or whatever it is.
Yeah. I need to be able to communicate. And
no.
Turn off your car, then you can communicate. Pull over.
I guess the problem with it though is a bit like with the automotive autonomous driving. Not everybody has it. So if people are forced into new cars, would it stop people buying new cars?
Maybe. But it'll stop people from dying.
Well, will it? Because if the people in the Pajero that haven't got it aren't paying attention, they hit you.
No, those Pajeros are going anyway. They're going to be gone sooner than later.
Nobody's going to keep a Pajero, are they? You're never going to have a conversation.
No.
Like, if there is an equivalent of this show in 40, 50 years' time, nobody's going to say...
We're going to still be doing this show in 50 years' time. It's like, I remember when we were in Dubai.
Imagine mine mowing in 50 years' time. But you're never going to get it like... beautiful 3.8.
Oh, I love that Pajero.
Found a 2012 classic.
Yeah.
low mileage.
Yeah.
Nobody.
No
They
one.
did an Evo Pajero in like 95.
Look
Did a
how
rally all.
you go out into any parking lot right now, and any mall, go through any subdivision. How many Hyundai Gallopers do you see? None. Maybe I've seen one in the last
That
6
was
months.
the shape
Yeah.
that they did the Evo Pajero, which was
Right.
a short wheelbase rally one, which was a
Yeah.
special edition, but it was literally just stuff stuck to it. It wasn't really anything else.
I mean, I owned a Galloper, and I thought I'd be driving that thing till I left the UAE, until it died.
I wrote more off than I fixed when I was at AAA. Just like people
Yeah.
would say, I'm not spending 10,000 dirhams on this car.
Well, that was Max's garage. I had a leak, a water leak into the oil.
Every single one of them.
They couldn't find it.
Every single one of them.
I go in,
Gasket.
and they've got because they're trying to figure out where it was, because they didn't want to open it up. They're saying it's just going to cost you. And they've got, somehow they had the vehicle jimmied onto a lift to wedge it up so they could try and find the leak. Nothing. It was horrible. And they all went. That's why they're all gone. But and I don't know anyone who's going, oh, I remember having that Galloper. I remember that Galloper. Although I did take it through Liwa.
Well, there you go then.
It's like, and then we followed up with a Terracan, which was the all-wheel drive thing. That lasted a little bit. It was okay. You don't see any of those around anymore.
Yeah.
No one's driving one of those.
There's just some cars that you just look at and think, why?
Why? Yeah. Why? What's going on?
It's like, if we get, and this is not by, any means reason to pick on them, but if we get a customer with a Jaguar, we know that customer loves that car.
Yeah.
You have to love a Jaguar. You have to like them to buy one.
Yeah.
Because they're designed in a certain way. But if you've owned it for longer than 6 months, you've got to love it. Because you speak to John about his.
Oh yeah, he loves them.
He says, and he owns two. If you own a Jaguar, you have to own two. Because you always need one for when the other one's in the shop.
Yeah.
And if a customer comes in with a Jaguar, we know they love that car. So we know we need to give them a certain level of service that is probably beyond what someone with a Pajero might necessarily care for. Because someone with a Pajero is kind of given up. Well, you need a safe, reliable car to get to and from school and back, or to and from work and back.
Yeah.
That's what a Pajero
It's just a
will
runaround.
do
It's
for
just a
you.
runaround.
Exactly. And that's the difference. So you just want to spend 600 dirhams on the service every 6-12 months, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that is probably what you will spend. 5 years, that'd probably be all it is. Tyres, brakes,
Yeah.
copious amounts of fuel.
Oh,
But, otherwise,
my old Wrangler's starting to consume a little fuel. I was driving the other day. I was going, I think it's using a little more fuel than it used to use.
which one's got the charcoal canister bungee corded on though?
That's the one.
Yeah.
The red one. That's it. Or the bait. That's the. I know. I'm sure I was driving, going, I think we used to
Didn't
get.
you say you had a problem you thought with the wheel alignment though?
No, that's the. So I don't know what it's called. So you've got your suspension. You'll tell me what these things are called. But when you look at the Wrangler, then, and you look at the front suspension, there's some bars that come down.
Okay, yeah.
Whatever those are called, I have no idea. That do something with the suspension to
People call them radius arms. Some people call the trailing arms.
Yeah, but there's these two long arms, and those arms. I'm pretty sure the last time I brought it in, you said, yeah, we're going to have to replace something on one of those arms next time you bring it in, and I haven't brought it in yet, but it clearly needs to be replaced. So there's something. I think the bushings on it are gone, clearly.
You know what? Wrangler's another one. I should have said Wrangler instead of Jaguar, actually.
Well, it's the
Jaguar
same thing.
just came to mind because of John, but I think
It's
Wrangler's the same. People love the Wranglers.
But and I always dread, because my boys are coming, right? They're going to drive the Duranglers. Well, the Duranglers. That would be a cool thing, a Durangler. It's like, what are you driving? I drive a Durangler.
Wrangler.
But the funny thing with a Durango, and I'll get back to the actual story, but Durango is also a beverage in North America. Durango coolers.
Okay.
So I always think of the Durango Dodge as the Durango, and
What makes a Durango cooler? It's unnecessarily large.
I don't know if it's rum or something.
You've just seen it. You never ordered one.
No, never had
Thinking
one.
that'll be-
Very sweet. Just like, I'm never going to get one of
It's
those.
unnecessarily big and with a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah, that's it. But you're right with the Wrangler. So the thing is, my boys are coming. Both of my cars have idiosyncrasies of their own that, as a driver of it, I just kind of like write it off. It's like, yeah, that's what it does.
Fine.
Until someone else drives it. Goes. So I had a great one where we had a pilot staying at our house.
Oh.
And the car's sitting there. I said, well, yeah, use it. And they get in, and this is the burgundy one. 300 whatever thousand kilometers, lots of little things, and she's driving it, And she calls me, she goes, your engine light's buzzing and coming on. And my response is, just keep going.
Well, a warning light to a pilot is a big deal.
Oh yeah, she's going, do you realize if you're flying and your warning light comes on, you land? And I'm going, yeah, just ignore it. She goes, I can't ignore it. I said, put some tape over it. Yeah. She goes, I can see there was tape over it. I said, yeah, just put it back over.
I've just peeled the tape off after I finished making sure all the switches are in the same place.
Yeah.
It's making sure the AC vents are all parallel.
Yeah. She said, I can drive your car, but then what's that binging sound that's happening? I go, oh, that's because the tire pressure batteries are gone and I can't be bothered getting new ones because who knows. And she's going, how do you drive this car? And I said, I just ignore it all. And then actually my friend who drives the Porsche, she was saying the other day, she goes, how do you then know if something's the matter with your car? I said, well, I check the oil. I check the oil, I check the coolant, and I take a look at all the levels of stuff. And if it's all good and there's no leaks, we're good. Yeah. She's going, okay, I don't know.
Yeah, see, I think I know the Porsche, right?
Yeah.
I've seen the Porsche.
Yeah.
So it's the Boxster, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
and that owner's going to get in touch with you because they need you to
same deal.
babysit.
So that car will absolutely scream its head off at you if it's got a problem, forever.
Yeah.
It won't give in. It will just scream at you relentlessly, like
Yeah.
a Pajero doing 120 that just doesn't stop beeping.
It's like, ah!
It will just squeal and say, there's something wrong. And it doesn't matter if it's a bulb out, it doesn't matter if it's the engine oil pressure, it doesn't matter what it is, from minimum to maximum levels of urgency, it will scream at you.
Oh, man.
Absolutely scream. I mean, I'm surprised that a pilot even got in the Wrangler. That's nothing against the Wrangler.
No.
Pilot. I've got a really good friend who was a pilot. He was made redundant during COVID, and he'd had his time. He was happy enough with that. He'd got a family and everything else, so more time with the family. But he is super OCD.
Right.
And that's what you want as a pilot.
Oh yeah, you want
your pilot on that thing thinking, like, that guy, that lady, whoever that is so obsessed with detail that we are safe on this plane. So he called me one day. I've got this foam thing under the steering column, which I'd never noticed before. So I got in there to pull it out, like you would. And then it wouldn't come, so I've cut it at either end and got it out. But now my car won't start. Seriously, like one of the most intelligent people I know, right?
Why is he cutting the foam out? And what did he cut?
So it was actually ribbon strip wire, which was from the ignition switch to the control unit.
Great.
So now there's no connection from the switch to the control unit, so the car wouldn't start because it didn't detect the key.
Great.
So that's dashboard out.
It's like
to fit, because the wire is part of the switch, so you've got to fit it, and it's dashboard out.
Why would he do that? I mean,
because he could not live with
the little bit of foam. Something's out of place.
You're driving the car like this, steering wheel's in your hands. You cannot see it when you're driving. It's only because he was in there with his vacuum that he uses to vacuum his vacuum to get in the ridges of his carpet mat that he saw it. And like I say, he's a really, really good friend and he's really intelligent.
Yeah.
And had I thought he was able to deal with the ribbing of it, he'd have still been hearing about it today. In fact, I'd have rang him now.
Right now, we would have got him on. We would have put him on the show. Yeah.
But I know that now is that's a serious problem for him that happened to him.
Yeah. Gee.
And this is it, right? This is the for us as a business, it's really good that people care so much to a certain level, because we know that they're going to, as a business, they're going to bring the car in, which we can make money. We have to always measure our response to people about it based on how they are, because if we have a car coming in for service like yours, we know that when it comes in, we might find 10 things.
Yeah, well, at least.
But of those 10 things, there's only going to be 2 or 3 that we need to do.
Yeah.
But I know I can say to you, look, James, there's a bit of wear on one of those rear arms. You're going to have to keep an eye on the tyres. Well, I know you're going to check your tyre pressures every week and you're going to tell me when the tyres start to go. But there are some customers that literally smash their car up and down curbs and come in and out because they've done their school run, they've gone home and back from work. They don't care. As long as they turn the key and it starts, The only maintenance they do is when it flashes on the dashboard and tells them it needs a service, and then they'll begrudgingly bring it in, or when it breaks down. So then we have to make a decision with a duty of care over what's right for the business and over what's right for the customer sometimes. So would we then say, well, you could leave that for a few months? Because what will actually happen is they'll come back with a damaged tyre, and then we've not helped them at all, because then they've had to fix the issue of the worn bushes on the rear, and they've had to expensively pay for another tyre as well.
Speaking of tires, that was an interesting thing. I was driving the other day in the car that, in the Wrangler, that clearly needs to get serviced now. And I was thinking, as I was driving, because I was thinking about the tires, and I'm going, when did I get these tires on? And I was literally trying to remember, when did I put these tires on?
Did we do it here?
I think that one was done when I was still on Dubai Eye.
Oh man!
Which means, and I was thinking of that because the vehicle is going to be coming up for registration in January, and so I got to go take a. It's not the one I'm driving today. It's the Burgundy one. I was thinking, that's things that'll never pass registration if those tires are too old. And I'm thinking they've got to be at the limit, which made me also think it's time to change them anyway. I think that's when I did it, or there was a set of tires in between. I'm not sure. I have to. Either way, I think the tires need to be changed.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is...
Especially if it's going to rain someday.
Never. This is the thing with what the RTA are doing on test is just needs to be made a lot more consistent.
Yeah.
But the tyres, they're very hot on, and I'm really happy about it. We make very, very little money on tyres, and most tyre places do, actually. It's all about rebates and shifting volumes.
Right.
Which we can't do, the volumes, but obviously if we don't have tyres on vehicles, they're not attached to the road in any way with any sort of friction that's manageable, so we have to supply them. But I'm so happy the RTA are so keen on them. It's frustrating if you take the vehicle in and the tyres are 2 years old, but they're cracked and they're going to fail them. But if you get a fail because the tyres are 5 years old, well, that's good.
Yeah,
that saves you a problem, because you've got 5 years out of those tyres.
Yeah.
What an investment that is.
Yeah.
And then, an average, that is 100 dirhams a year.
Yeah.
On a tyre. That's not bad, is it?
No.
And then they've saved you a blowout because they failed it because it's 5 years.
And I'm seeing cars with blowouts now. So the temperatures have gone down a little bit here, and folks in other parts of the world, it's getting colder.
Yeah.
Australia, it's getting hotter.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing more blowouts.
The problem is pressures are dropping.
Yeah.
So, the pressure drops with temperature.
You don't want to...
And you're constantly compressing
the
sidewall. And the steel, everyone can probably imagine, if you've got a piece of steel that you bend, just like a credit card even, in a wallet, if you bend it, it goes to a point where it won't flex back.
Exactly.
And then you've got a weak point.
So you don't want to have a blowout when you're out with the family and something like that. I mean, I've had a rear tire blowout when I went, years ago with the boy, and we were in the fast lane. It was like, whoa.
It's hard to hold on to a car.
It was hard to hold on. It was like, okay, and then you just go into autopilot and you're looking and you're checking things out. Okay, how fast can I get over onto the shoulder? And away we go.
The steering doesn't work properly at that point.
No.
If anyone's interested, then great. If they're not, then I apologise for the next 15 seconds. But the Ackermann principle, which determines steering geometry, relies solely on the rear axle being straight. If the rear axle isn't straight, the steering axle cannot work. If you've lost a tyre on one side, you're in a real bad position there. Real bad position. And, we cannot turn the rear wheels.
Right.
So, common knowledge is put the best tyres on the front, because, they're the ones that you steer with, and on front engine, front wheel drive cars, they're the ones that tend to be worn out first. But we were told on tyre safety briefings from manufacturers of tyres that the best tyres should go on the rear, because the rear axle needs the best grip and needs to be the most controllable, because you can't control it with your hands. If the front goes, you've got hold of the wheel. So until you're in a skid, you're in a skid. But until you're in a skid, you've got hold of the wheel and can do some kind of adjustment on it. Now, one of the problems is that we're not trained to be, stunt drivers or race drivers or reactionary safety drivers. So it's very hard to train somebody for that event, especially in the fact that the way you would do it would be on a skid pan or something with a spike where it's coming and there's no one around you.
Right.
When you're in the middle of 6 lanes of traffic at 100 kilometres an hour and it goes, you can't train people for that because you can't deliberately put people in.
And that's the challenge, like you said. We almost need to be on that skid pad just to get a feel for what it's like, so that when you are in the full situation, which you hope you never are, back to the pilots who train on all these things in simulators, we need to have that simulation, so at least we know what it's going to feel like, as opposed to, hey, it happened, and it's like, oh, this is weird. I never had this happen before, and I'm really not so sure exactly how to deal with it, except take the foot off the gas and get over into the shoulder and not stay on the left-hand shoulder where I'm going to get creamed by some crazy car.
It's really, it's so easy to dismiss tires as it's just tires, because there's an air pump at the petrol station, and if something I can do on my own car, it can't be that complicated, etc., etc. But 3 to 5 psi difference in your tyre pressures from what it should be is dangerous. And that's as simple as it gets. It's dangerous. Your tyre is no longer operational at its correct pressure, and it's dangerous.
I saw some video the other day. Talk about the random videos that we get about tires, and some guy had this gizmo to make tires that definitely should not be sold to anyone look new. And it was a tire cutter that goes around the side, and he cuts off the piece. And the guy who was doing it, showing it, like, clearly had been doing this a long time, because the tire looked brand new. But I'm just going, no, that's not good.
You can buy retread tires, and you can buy tire cutters. It's normally the big commercial stuff.
Why would I use a tire cutter though? This was like, these are like for cars.
The problem is that some places,
it's freehand. It was a freehand tire cutter.
Some places though, the labour is cheaper than the tyre.
Right. Okay.
In some countries that's the case. So from my point of view, working on passenger vehicles in the UK, I never saw it. One of the guys that used to do a bit of off-roading, he had a tyre cutter and he had retreads on his 4x4 that he used on the weekend. But that was literally for using them off-road. He wasn't taking his family out on the highway, on the motorway.
Well, who would buy retreads anyway? I mean, I understand.
They do. People do buy retreads.
For cars? Like for...
I can't say that I've ever dealt with it, but I know people do.
I mean, wow.
Yeah.
The thing is, you see those retreads on commercial vehicles, and you see them blow. You see the tread blow off, and I've seen that all over the world.
You come past our, the side street entrance for our garage, down to where is it? What's the bakery down there? Patissiere or something?
Yeah, something.
Down that street where Trinity is and everything else. There's all the pickups and tankers and everything for hire along the road. You can stop and say, I'm moving house, can I borrow your pickup? You come,
love
whatever.
Those guys.
I've got a flood in the back garden, can you bring the tanker and the pump, blah, blah, blah. I will challenge you to find one of those that hasn't got at least one bad. And when I say bad, I mean bad. I'm not talking about upsell bad. I'm talking about that's dangerous.
Yeah.
You can't find one.
Yeah.
They're all absolutely destroyed.
Well, and you see the shaking, the shimmy of some of those vehicles, and it's like...
The thing is, right, I know from my time with AAA, and I remember at the time thinking, especially in my early days, why is Frank blowing a gasket over a driver damaging a tyre on his truck? But a Continental for that truck was 2,000 dirhams.
Yeah.
We were making 700 for the job. By the time you've taken diesel and cost of labour sale out of it, we've made 400 profit. And they've got to put a 2 grand tyre on it because he's not paid attention, he's hit a curb and damaged the tyre. 2,000 dirhams for a tyre. Now, I could go and ask a tanker driver to come and pump our septic tank or come and, save us from a flood. He'll probably charge me 400 for the hour plus 200 for the emptying charge that he has to pay at the dealer site. But if he damages a tyre on the way, he's got to do 4 of those jobs to pay for the tyre in one day. And there isn't enough hours in the day for him to do that.
Yeah.
So, I get it, but there's got to be some middle ground. Yeah. You can't have... How can these guys afford to put new tyres on? But then if they can't, then should they be allowed... I know exactly. Is it almost the point of, and look, I'm saying...
Safety first, though.
Look, we're in the UAE, the drivers are men here.
Yeah.
I can't think of a time when I've seen a lady driving a truck here.
No, I've never seen one here.
So the guys that are at the side of the road that we're hiring from are men. And if we go and hire that vehicle from them, when that guy renews his visa, should it be based on the condition of his truck? You know, you have to have a medical to get a visa. Should the truck have to have, you know, should it, are you safe? Where's your truck? You're getting a new driver visa. Where's your vehicle that you're going to drive on the road? Because if one of those tankers full with 10,000 gallons of septic water has a blowout or a wheel bearing falls off, how many have you seen the wheels go?
Oh, many. It's frightening.
You know, I've seen one dragging the leaf spring on the road. I've seen them overloaded on one side on the pickups.
Yeah.
Blowing leaf springs. They don't break.
No, it's when I see them at the side of the road and they got the hood up and some guy's showing up and he's doing the repair on the side and he's got a box and it's like, oh no.
Yeah, we had a guy in this morning who's brought his Q7 in and he's the workshop manager for Suez, the waste disposal guys, the skips and stuff. We're just going to they're doing a lot of recycling stuff now, which is, we've never been able to get people to recycle plastics from vehicles, but they'll do it, which is great. So I don't know if they've got something going on with EnviroServe or whatever it is, but they take it and dispose of it properly, they said. So he brought his Q7 in and he told me that they're spending 2.5 million dirhams on tyres. 2.5 million dirhams on tyres, right? And he's like, we don't put the high-end tyres on because a lot of our stuff is done on building sites.
Right.
And we don't know that until we get there. So someone will say there's a pickup at such and such a location, and when they get there, there's a development going on and they've got to go through a building site to get to the usual location. So 4 new tyres in the morning at 10 grand, and it's 4 new tyres in the evening at another 10 grand for a job that they've made 600 dirhams on. Yeah. Because they didn't know when they got there. So they put the cheaper, typically Chinese manufactured tyres on there, because if that happens, at least it's not 10 grand. Yeah. But that's frightening. But these self-employed guys at the side of the road that are doing a great service and a good job, they can't afford that. Yeah. And how do you regulate that without persecuting? Yeah. That's the issue here, and I don't know. It's dangerous, and for us, the regulation comes with passenger cars. It comes to the fact that people will always ask me, "Is it safe?"
That's it.
And if it's tyres, it's not. Yeah. You know, if it's tyres, it isn't. If it's anything that would I drive the vehicle with my kids and wife in the car? And if I would, then okay. Yeah. If I wouldn't, then I'd tell people, no, I wouldn't. It's different. You know, DJ, as an example, he's just got himself in the car. He might drive it. Yeah. But he's a lunatic. Whereas if I was in the car on my own, I might drive it. But when I'm in the car as a dad and a husband, it's different.
Yeah. Glenn, as always, what a great conversation. It's time to go. Learned a lot. Glenn Power from Powerworks Automotive. Glenn, that car guy, if you're looking for him across the socials. I'm James Pikeway. We're going to do it all again really soon. Scroll down through all of the podcasts that we put together. And if you're online, scroll down through all of the video content we've got. Lots of information, entertainment, just great conversation.
Leave us a like.
Yeah, leave us a like. Exactly.
Review.
Please.
Even bad reviews.
Yeah, we love bad reviews. We like all reviews. But thank you very much for being with us, and we'll talk to you again really soon. So long for now. Cool. Kaboom! That was great. We didn't get there was that piece about the crate engine, and I didn't realize what that electric engine looked like. That it looks like a motor.
Yeah. Well, that's what they are, aren't they?
Yeah. But no wonder it fits in. I just thought, wow, that's cool. But then there was the price list on the bottom of what it doesn't include. So yeah, it's great, but it doesn't include. So $3,900. However, it doesn't include the traction inverter, control system, and the battery. Yeah. So yeah,
so the $70,000 battery.
Yeah. So you're screwed. But
did you see Shazam put a post on asking about should